Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to continue my superhero figure and I'm gonna make the hair. So first off, I'm gonna hide everything that I don't need just to have a little bit more speed. And with the mask I'm gonna start drawing the shape of the scalp of my character. And it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be precise, just has to be roughly symmetrical. Doesn't really matter if it's perfect or not. And I'm just gonna mask it out like that, and a little bit of refining just to get some a little bit of a natural shape where the hair are supposed to grow, something like that. Maybe a little bit more there. Yeah, this is probably good enough. And from the extract menu, I'm gonna try and say 0.01 and see, click extract, and this is a bit too much, so I'm gonna change it to 0.001 and see. Yeah, that's better. Now with this I'm going to extract, I'm going to click on the polygroup, the top polygroup, so I'm gonna hide the rest. And from the modify topology, I'm just gonna click on delete hidden, so this is gonna be my only mesh. Now with I'm gonna use ZRemesher to generate a fairly low poly mesh. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. And then I'm gonna use the UV master to generate some UVs. I'm probably not gonna use the UVs, but it's always good to have them. So from here I'm going to export it, and also I'm gonna export maybe not the absolute lowest, but like maybe the second lowest. Oh right, yeah, I forgot. Before I export, I'm gonna project my scalp to the head, so I'm gonna have exactly the best match possible in terms of polygon. And now I'm gonna export it. I'm gonna call the hair cap for the scalp mesh. And I'm gonna export my model in low resolution, and I'm gonna call this one whatever. Oh yeah, I forgot that I want to uncheck the group first, and I'm gonna call this body ref. This is gonna be just for the reference. Okay, let's move to Maya. In here I just drag these two objects there. I just exported from zBrush, and I just like, before I start, I just like to set up a little bit of my scene. I'm just going to if I found the custom menu, there it is. I'm just going to smooth the normals, so I don't have that face looking hard edge looking geometry. And I'm just gonna change the camera field of view to something a little bit more narrow, and yeah, something like that might work. I'm gonna save it. Actually, before I save it, I'm just gonna rename these two meshes just to have something a little bit more clean, and then I'm gonna save it. Just gonna call this hair 01. Okay, so let's get started with Ornatrix for Maya. I'm gonna select my hair cap mesh, and as you can see, up as today, this is the version that I'm using, 2.07. If you're watching this video, later in the future might be a newer version. So I'm gonna click on the plus icon and I'm gonna choose furball, and this is actually pretty cool. Can probably just keep it like this. So punk version of my character, and let's start removing what I don't need immediately. So I'm gonna uncheck the hair from guide nodes, and I'm gonna click on guide from mesh, and basically here I just want one guide at this point because I'm gonna manually place the other, and I'm gonna change the length to something like 30. I want the character to have a little bit of long hair, not super long, but not super short either. Something in between, like a middle length hair. And maybe I'm gonna change the point count to 20 to have just a little bit more room, because I want this hair to be very flowy. I want to be very dynamic. Then from edit guide, I'm just going to click on affect selected only, even though at this moment I have only one guide, and with the comb brush I'm just gonna comb this guide a little bit. At this stage doesn't have to be, I mean, just to have something that it's not straight. Then I'm going to click on this icon here, which and I'm gonna set the guide length to 30, and I'm gonna uncheck the adopt shaped, and click on the sculpt to generate a new guide. Unfortunately, those settings, the length and the adopt shape, for some reason they're not being saved. So every time I go back to that menu, I'm gonna have to recheck it. I hope the guys from if here, if they're watching this video, I hope they're gonna fix that bug. It's quite annoying. So just quickly comb this curve. So, and I'm gonna cut it, and because this is the front fringe, so I don't want it to be super long. So basically, what I'm gonna do from now on, I'm gonna place manually a series of guides that will define the overall volume of the hair, just to have something that make me understand the dynamics, the shape, the silhouette of my hair object that I'm gonna have at the end. So I'm just gonna place a couple of more guides, one small one here for the fringe, and I'm gonna activate hair from guides, and I'm gonna click this icon, which basically what it does, it turns every single guide into a hair. And then I'm gonna add a mesh from strands modifier, and I'm gonna click on the not on the flat polygons, but on the cylindrical one, and the material that it's applied by default is this anisotropic material. It's probably good if you have like very fine hair, but on this mesh doesn't look very good. But I don't really care about the material. It's just a preview for Maya. And then I'm changing a little bit of the size and the side count. I think I'm gonna put it something about 4. By default it's 3, but it's not very important. Let me see if I can remove this. This specular is a little bit annoying because it doesn't look very good. So let me just remove all the specularity, so I just have some color here like that. And so yeah, this looks okay. So what I'm doing now, I'm going back yeah, I can tweak a little bit the shapes here of the single hair from the root to the tip, just to get something that will give me a little bit of volume. And maybe I'm going to increase the width to like 2, because keep in mind that this character is going to be 3D printed, so we cannot have super fine hair. The hair are going to have to be very kind of thick, so I'm going to use this for now as my thickness for my hair. Again, this will not be the final hair. This will be just the volumes of the final shape that I'm going to make. So as you can see, as I mentioned before, adopt shape and guide length, unfortunately they don't get these values, they don't get saved, so you need to check and click that every time I come back to this window, which is a little bit of annoying. But so now I'm gonna add this new hair, and I'm just gonna, as a general rule, first I'm going to follow the contour of the scalp mesh. So I'm gonna place them along the borders, basically, of my scalp mesh. Again, I'm going to adjust a little bit more the size there, just to have something that's a bit thick, and move it around to get some interesting shape. Again, I want this hair to be there's something wrong here. I don't know why. What's going on with this? It looks like the normals are flipped or something. I don't know why this particular hair is black. It might be a display bug or something. So I'm just gonna try a couple of things and see if it solves. But it doesn't really matter. It's just black. So what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna activate the default material, so I don't have to see that that's black. The normal seems fine, so whatever. So I'm gonna continue, and I'm gonna plant new guides along the borders, move my way on the back of the head, and again I'm trying to get some dynamics, some wild shape going on. She's in a very dynamic pose, so I want the hair to be as dynamic as possible, but I want to try to keep them believable. I don't want it to look like she has like snakes or she's underwater. I just want to try to get some cool dynamic pose for the hair. And I'm going up from the top of the head and going backwards towards the back of the head. So basically now I've done the contours, and I'm doing the top of the head with these guides. So I can have, from the profile, I can start seeing some shape going on there. And then just place some more guides where I think I'm gonna need them, on the side a little bit, like that. And they don't need to be perfectly distributed. I'm gonna take care of that later when I generate the actual hair, but I want to have a guide, at least one guide for the main areas of the scalp. So that's what I'm doing basically, and I'm just, as you can see, I'm just placing them and moving them around, trying to cover as much silhouette as possible. So from the front and and the side. And at this point, basically, when I've done with the hair that I needed for the main shape, I'm just gonna fill up the empty space that I see. I'm just gonna click and create some new guides there, and then one more there, maybe one there, and this should be fine. And then I'm gonna select one by one and comb them to match with the rest. It's a little bit of a tedious work, but I think it's necessary, especially for this when you want to make a figure that is printable. I found this to be a pretty good way of creating the hair for that. So keep selecting one by one, and comb brush with the effect selected only option checked. So I'm only going to comb the one that it's selected, and one more, and then I'm going to maybe adjust a few of them, rotating the model from the side, from the front, and see, take a look at the silhouette and see what can be done to improve, make the shape a little bit more interesting, or if there are areas where the volume of the hair looks too big, or maybe it doesn't look big enough. So just move them around, and until I get something that I'm happy with. All right, so at this point I'm going to export. No, actually, before I do that, I'm going to duplicate. As you can see, I selected my my node, and I used duplicate special. This will duplicate the full node, and yeah, there was a crash there. Unfortunately, I'm getting a lot of crashes with this version of Ornatrix, but that happens. So with the copy that I made, I'm basically going to create, I'm going to open up the hair, as you can see from there, and I want them to be, I want the root of the hair to be distributed on the full surface of the scalp, and then I want just the tip to be shorter, and they're gonna basically go inside of the larger hair that I created before. This is basically gonna act as a fill-in for all those holes that I've left with my main big hair. So as you can see, I'm just playing around with the size and with the clump, and something like that. It's probably good enough for now. I will do some more adjustment in zBrush, but yeah, this one looks okay. I'm might go back and tweak a little bit more the shape, maybe to make those hair, like the big hair, to make them a little bit wider, and I'm playing around with the length of the copied version of the hair, the fill-in version of the hair. And here, what I'm doing, I'm just I went back to the guides, and I'm combing them a little bit inside. I wish there was a modifier to sync the roots of the hair. I couldn't find it, so I'm not sure if Ornatrix has anything like that, but I manually push them inside. So this is the version that I'm gonna use, and I'm going to export it. I'm gonna call this hair 01, and the other one I'm gonna call it just hair 02, so I don't confuse. And let's go back to ZBrush. So I'm gonna import, there you go, that's hair 01. And I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna append something new and import hair 02. All right. Now this is hair 01. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go to the geometry tab, and first of all I'm gonna click on fill holes, because Ornatrix hair, they're not capped. And then I'm gonna smooth them so both the tips and the roots are gonna be a little bit rounded up, which I like. And I'm gonna do the same for hair 02. So close holes and smooth them. And they look a little bit thin, so I think I might use the one of the modifiers maybe later. So I'm pushing them inside, because these are just the fill-in, so I don't want them to be on top, visibly on top of hair 01. And let's see, I'm gonna push them and pull them around like that. I don't want them to pass over the other hair. I want it to be inside, to stay inside. Something like that. And moving around a little bit. As you can see, there was it's going inside the shoulder a little bit there. Adjust it. So let's see, from here. Okay, so I think I'm going to use the inflate, and just to make them a little bit thicker. And this was done on hair 02, by the way, and they look okay. I'm doing a rendering just to check if the overall volume is okay. They're a little bit big on the right side, her right side. On the left side of the screen, there's a little bit more volume there. So now I'm isolating this this strand here. I'm just gonna move. This is the strand that goes, it's like the small fringe on the front. I'm just gonna move that a little bit, because I didn't like the placement that he had. And yeah, I'm gonna just push these hair a little bit more inside the hair. It's they're gonna be, I'm gonna have to do some adjustment on the on one side of the head. It looks a little bit too big. Those hair, they have a little bit too much volume. But I think I'm gonna adjust that when I convert it to a mesh, to a sculptable mesh. Again, this is gonna have to be 3D printed, so maybe this hair could be printed if the size of the figure is really big, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna convert this into a Dynamesh, and I'm gonna make basically this hair in one big block, in one piece, so that it's gonna be a little bit more manageable even for smaller size prints, hopefully. I'm gonna do another quick render, and I'm just checking to see if the volumes are okay. And from this side, I like this side. I think it looks pretty good from here, but yeah, the other side, I think the volume is a little bit too big. So, and I'm gonna push inside those strands there. They look a little bit weird, and kind of like that. I'm gonna adjust them further later when I do the sculpt, but just for now, just to have something that, as you can see, there's a little bit of overlapping there on those mesh. Some of the strand looks a little bit weird, but again, I might adjust that later when I do the sculpt. And checking around, this looks okay. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna maybe move this one a little bit, something like that. Just don't like those tiny strands to pop out like that, so I'm just gonna try to blend them together, and kind of like that. Yeah, push that down a little bit. Yeah, I think this area still look a bit too big. And also I'm gonna change again this strand here. I'm gonna move it around a little bit more. It looks a bit, maybe I'm gonna bring it up like that and blend it with the one below, and maybe give it a little bit more curvature, something like that. And then I'm gonna have to do the same with the one from here too. Just use the visibility tab there, and so I can clearly select the one that I have, that I need, and something like that. Maybe it doesn't need to be, I just want it to look a bit like one unique piece there, and this looks okay. So I'll do one last render to check if it's okay, and then I'm going to move on to the yeah, that looks fine. I mean, it's still a little bit too much of a volume on her right, but I'm gonna adjust that in a few minutes. So next, I'm gonna need to convert this into one unique piece, a sculptable mesh. So I'm gonna duplicate this and duplicate also the other hair. So I got a copy of each. It's always useful to keep a copy. And I'm gonna merge them together. So or actually, before merging it, I'm gonna do Dynamesh on the single hair, and let's see. Dynamesh, and let's see what happens just with, oh, okay. Definitely more resolution. No, that's still bad. 1024. And probably 2048 is good. Yeah, something like that. So now this is a Dynamesh, and I'm gonna have to do the same on the other one, and then I'm gonna merge them together. So select the other hair and 2048, Dynamesh it, and this should take a few seconds. There you go. And there are holes there, but obviously I'm gonna take care of that. Also, I'm gonna import back the scalp mesh, and I'm gonna need some thickness, so I'm gonna use ZModeler here, and I'm gonna extrude all polygons, and just click and drag like that. And now the normals are inverted, so you need to click on flip, so you get the correct view. And I'm gonna convert this as well to Dynamesh. I tried with 1024, but it's better to use the same resolution for everything. So now I'm gonna merge them together. So we're gonna have the scalp and the two hair. So merge down, and then I'm gonna regenerate the Dynamesh. From here, I'm gonna try and do a couple of things. Well, the polish, completely get rid of all those details, so it's not great to do. And basically, I want to sculpt on these hair. Now that there are one block, they still have few tiny holes here and there, so I'm gonna try and find where they are, and also I'm gonna remove some of the imperfection that I have here, and then in the end I'm just gonna sculpt, because as you can see I have to smooth out some of the areas when I close the holes, when I remove those gaps in there. Obviously I'm not gonna remove all the gaps, they're gonna steal some gaps, but I'm gonna try remove the biggest one. And with clay brush I'm just gonna add some volume here and there, and updating the Dynamesh so it's nice and clean. And with the then standard brush I just put some line here and there, just to create a little bit more the illusion of the hair. Yeah, something like that. You need to be careful with the smooth, because you might smooth on the other side. I could mask the other part, but just be careful to not smooth out all the details. And yeah, again here, trying to remove these nasty holes. The inside doesn't really matter, and sculpt some detail with the dem standard. I do both inside and outside lines, so I get a little bit more variation. And basically, yeah, I'm just gonna go move around my mesh and see when I found these tiny holes, tiny gaps. Just fill them up and refresh the Dynamesh. So yeah, I'm smoothing the inside, although it doesn't really matter the inside. And then again with the I do a combination of the clay brush and the and dem standard, just to get some volume where it's needed, and then do some detailing of those lines with the hair, and cover that. few more nasty gaps to close. Again, I'm not gonna close them all, but when I found one, I just try and close it up. Try a little bit of clay polish there, but whatever type of polishing you're gonna use, obviously it's gonna remove some of the detail. So I'm gonna have to go back. As you can see, there are plenty of holes inside, but you can't really go and clean them up. Hopefully this is gonna be good enough for the printer. There are ways to check if the mesh can be printed or not, but at the moment I'm just worried about cleaning this this complicated mesh here. And let's save it. Now let's start addressing some of those volumes that I was talking about before. I'm just gonna remove a little bit of volume and move the volumes around using the move brush. Just pushing and pulling the hair to get something that looks a little bit more convincing, a little bit less like a wig and a little bit more like her hair. Something like that maybe could work. And it's useful to do this preview render, because once you get the shadows, it's easier to understand the volumes, the screen space, ambient occlusion that the ZBrush viewport has. It's okay, but it doesn't really give you the full sense of volume of your model. So it's good, especially for hair. It's good to take to stop sometimes and do a couple of best preview render, so you get the shadows and you know where do you need to move the volumes. So now I'm gonna activate lazy mouse on the dem standard, and I'm gonna start and sculpt some of the details that I've lost, or I'm gonna actually even fake some of the directions here for the hair and try to blend them a little bit better. I'm not gonna get too crazy on this. There are a bunch of areas where there isn't much detail, so I'm just adding some of these lines. Again, I'm using a combination of inside lines and outside lines, so I get some interesting shape and variation. And just move the head around and add them where you think they're needed. Try to define a little bit better those trends. Especially on the top. I'm basically not gonna touch like the small strands. Those are fine, but the big volumes here, I'm just gonna add some more lines, so give the illusion that there is something there, and add some little bit more volume there. Sometimes the dem standard seems that it doesn't want to apply the stroke, but it's just because maybe the thickness of that area maybe is too small. And let's fill that gap there. And then again, go back with the dem standard and redraw that detail, something like that. Some few more lines here and there, and let's save it. And let's see how it looks. Again, maybe, as you can see, even changing the material will make you see some of those missing details that you want to put in. Everything helps, not just spinning around the model, but look at it with different materials and different lightings, and everything helps. And again, moving around a little bit more some of the volumes. Something there to try to get those strands to look a little bit more clean. And you can keep tweaking as long as you want. I'm not gonna get too crazy on it. I'm gonna do some couple more render to see if you can see I found something weird going on here. And this material helps me, the madcap gray actually helps me to see a little bit better the shapes. But okay, let's do another preview render. Found another hole there. We want to close it up and then get back some of those details there. And sometimes you're gonna need to add some volume, otherwise you can't sculpt it. And smooth it out and add that detail back. Yeah, I think she looks okay. Let's do another render and see. Another angle. Yeah, I found another hole here that probably it's useless to keep, so let's fill it up. And again, draw some detail there. And some other there. There are many of these holes, but again, I'm not gonna chase them all. But when I find one, just try and close it up. One last render and see how she looks. And yeah, I think she looks fine. Let's do one more render here and see how the overall looks. Yeah, she looks okay. I mean, I can keep going and tweak more and more the hair, but you get the idea on how the workflow is. And that concludes the videos, and I hope you learned something new. So see you guys in the next video. Bye. Thank you for watching the full video. If you want, you can support me on Patreon, subscribe to my channel, and make sure to watch my latest video and other videos in my playlist. See you the next time.